Welcome in, everybody. As we get into this morning live and what would normally be the start of a typical futures opening tonight in just about 7 hours or so, we have to remember tomorrow the general markets aren't open as normal. We have Martin Luther King Day here in the States, so our stock markets aren't going to be open. So we have to, at least understand that that's happening. With the price, nothing much has changed from yesterday. We found ourselves in a little bit of a predicament, but not anything uncharacteristic of movement like this. There's been fallout in other tokens, which is pretty interesting. We continue to see XDC slide another 2.7%. We haven't got confirmation for that rebuy back in. And if it continues down this track, it's signaling a rejection there, which could very well push us down, getting closer to 3.8 maybe. But we'll take a look at that as we go. With XRP, I'm still a tad bit uneasy with the whole market because when we get into the weekly time frame, okay, for XRP, are we talking a spinning top in the weekly because of how much it's pulling down? When the rest of the market is showing weekly like long leg doji or doji reversal. So XRP's doji, like, is it a spinning top are we talking about here? Like, what are we talking here? And the truth that nobody wants to talk about with XRP, it's not the fact that the price is at $2.05. The fatigue comes, the real fatigue, and the reason why a lot of retail is quitting on us, especially the newcomers, is when you get told countlessly by hundreds and thousands of different outlets and different people and different, sources that we're going to hit X amount, like $1,000 or $10,000 or $589 or $100 by next week. How is someone supposed to feel if they don't have the knowledge of, the actual amount of tokens that XRP has, the amount of money it would take to get us to those prices? It's the fatigue. Fatigue is real. And when I was looking around this morning, I wanted to see what other people were saying. Instead of finding good information, I was being told this is a trap. We're going to get $100 by June, or $589 is a hidden price. It's like, can I get some real information? If I didn't know what I know about the charts and I'm actually looking for guidance, I'm fatigued. Like, I get fatigued from it. So then I just have to say not interested in all the XRP content when it shows me on YouTube. I just hit not interested. So I wonder if it doesn't push me out to other XRP people because I'm not interested when it's other. But it's real. Think about it. If you were new to retail, and we're looking at it this morning, XRP is down 0.38% at $2.05, 0.3 cents. And you're looking at it realistically saying, okay, what are other people thinking about the pattern setup? Well, you'll never hear the pattern setup. All you're ever going to hear about is don't pay attention to the price. Technicals don't matter. Haven't you heard that narrative now? And that's a fatigue for me. There's no reason to do the charting for XRP. It doesn't matter. It's all manipulation. That's not a good mindset for anybody to have. For anybody to say that, now you're losing. How are you supposed to stay ahead of these charts? Like, how are you supposed to stay ahead? Right now, XRP still at least in an inverse head and shoulders. But again, is this just a trap? Look at the weekly time frame. Like, we can't even have a conversation if you don't understand the technicals. Because when I said, is this a spinning top in the weekly, you'd look at me and say, spinning top, what are you talking about? Like, how are you supposed to know what a spinning top doji is? Like, how would you even know what I'm talking about? So when people act like that, it's like, what do you mean? Don't play into the fatigue and don't play into the mass manipulation that's being taught every single day by many, many outlets. Not just influencers on YouTube, all across the board, telling you technicals don't matter, buy, don't pay attention, who cares? We're going up to these prices, so you're going to be rich anyhow. Like, it's enough. Like, we have to acknowledge the truth about the XRP community is, one, they're fatigued because of all the outlandish things we're being told, but two, we're losing out on new interests. Think about it. Look how many people now, instead of saying, I want to join this revolution, are saying, I can't stand it anymore. I can't stand it. I get it every single day. Like, look how rude people are in my comments. You know, it's amazing. It's amazing. And they're right. Because if I was watching somebody and I seen me on here, I'd say this is just another asshole. And I wouldn't give him a chance. And that's real. And we have to acknowledge that. And that's what's happening. And I'm not afraid to acknowledge that. So if we want to grow as an XRP community, we've got to cut out all the shit. Excuse my French. We got to cut out all the noise. We've got to stop. We've got to stop pushing all this false crap. Because then no one's going to get ahead. Like, how are we supposed to get ahead if everybody's looking for $100? Most of my audience isn't even happy that we bought at 30 cents or 34 cents and it went up to 360, or that it's at $2 from a 30-cent investment. They're like, oh, this is trash. It's only at $2. I mean, come on. In any other investment, if you put 30 cents in to the dollar, and you put 30 cents to the dollar, and you're getting $2 back on that 30 cents. I mean, we're living in bizarro world. And the explanation I get is, oh, 30 cents to $3. Like, we were up 11x, and people are saying, oh, this isn't anything. It's like, I'm sorry, you know, so just don't fall trap to that. But good morning. 11:13 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Sunday, January 18th, 2026. I'm XRP Future Millionaire, and I reside in the great state of Michigan. I don't think the fatigue, though, like the point is that I don't think the fatigue has anything to do with the actual price of XRP. I think it has to do with the unrealistic expectations because everybody's being beaten over the head with $1,000 XRP, $589 XRP, $10,000 XRP. I mean, that's what I think. But yeah, a lot of these look like they have good setups. But like I said yesterday, I don't trust this weekly setup. I don't trust this weekly setup. Like, that is a very bearish weekly setup. And for anybody who doesn't know what a spinning top is, I'm sorry. So basically, you can look at them a couple different ways. And like for XRP, we've pulled so far through now that I thought we were setting up like a pin bar, where this pin bar is right here, this red one. I mean, it's come, let's go back to XRP. It's come so far through now that I might even have to well, no, it's not. I mean, that's, if you guys were looking at that in the weekly, what would you look at this? What would you say this is? Utility run doesn't care about charts. Buy. There you go. My point exactly. That's my point exactly. The utility run doesn't care about charts. That's what you got. That's what you got out of that. Okay, so maybe an inverted hammer. I like that. Oh, I know it is, Nick. Definitely indecision. Now, an inverted hammer, though, you can only be so far pulled down, and I almost feel like that might be too far pulled down. We can compare. Because that's got too much wick. You're not supposed to have that base wick breaking down. That's a key difference. Maybe it's going to turn into maybe a gravestone doji. Tombstone. So this is the inverted hammer. It's not supposed to have that pull through, though. It really isn't on the bottom. So you have to consider how many people have called for silver to drop based on TA and patterns. That's basically what everybody's saying. But honestly, the pattern doesn't necessarily suggest dropping it. The pattern on silver, if you actually are a real technical veteran, suggests it's not going to drop that far. If we want to call a spade, these people are fake analyzers. The technical target right now after that consolidation out of that ascending pattern, yep, is $107 if you want to be real. And that's not even, well, it might be a tiny bit lower because of where it broke out. Oh no, it did break out right there. The target's like $107. Now it can come back and back test to 82. But based on that pattern consolidation that it broke out of, I mean, we can do a short target, I suppose. Let's do a short target. And then you've got another pattern that it built too. So, I mean, we can look at it as smaller. But the smaller pattern, which I'd be more comfortable with, is actually to come up here. So I think if we just base it on the consolidation it was in, real analysis says, yeah, it can go down, but the technical move up here from the breakout, because that's a bullish consolidation, is $101. Then we can talk about this. I know, that's what I was saying, Maple Man. I thought it was a spinning top. It was starting that way, but it came out too far. So now I'm not sure anymore. But it's definitely moving. Maybe it depends how XRP plays today. Now, it could turn into a long leg doji if XRP pulls down here farther now, and that could be what's happening. It'll catch up to the rest of the market. Think about it. If this pulls down to like $2, 198, you know, if it had a drop off today, but that candle, it's a weird one now. It's definitely getting into the range of, you know, discussion. That's why I wanted to bring it up. Now, when you look, see how the futures ended, but we can't go by the futures because it's going to open up completely. I don't know. It's definitely a good one for debate today. Let's get rid of this real quick so we can see better. Let's get rid of this. Wait a minute. What pattern is this? No, let's go down to the one that's the universal we can delete. Wow, we stayed within that whole time. That's the one that still makes me wonder. I mean, that could get us down to $1.98. We'd still be within. Yeah, they did. They revalued. Okay. So the Mint revalued the Eagles. I believe it was $175 an ounce. Now, that doesn't mean that regular silver prices are just going to jump to $175. Man, it's cold in here. Well, not in here, but I was outside and it was cold. It's still cold. But no, they repriced it. But that, if we look at this honestly, too, this could be a head and shoulders. Maybe a hammer candle in the 3-hourly if we're lucky. Oh, we're still at the 200-day, but we're on the bottom side here we've been, which is a problem. We'll see. Let's see if we can get a little volume here. XRP is going to power the world. It's going to be a part of powering it, but there's a lot of other fundamental things that go into it as well. But XRP is a big part of this next step. You know, but we gotta look at it fundamentally sound. I don't want people just, and people be like, oh, he's a hater of XRP. Yeah, I guess so. I guess I'm the biggest hater. I'm probably the only person on the planet that can claim he's been on here every single day talking about XRP since March 24th of 2021 with 0 days in between. I don't know if there's another person on the planet that can say that. So I'm definitely not a hater of XRP, and I'm definitely obsessed with XRP. So is it possible that I might have a little more insight on XRP because I literally watch it every single day for that amount of time? Is it just possible in that way that maybe that happened? That I gained a little more knowledge than the average person, but just by virtue of looking at it every day, and when you know something, you have to find something else, and then when you know something else, you have to find something else. I'm too damn young to stay complacent. So I've got to be uncomfortable. Otherwise, I can't continue to grow. That's the truth. So it's the best way I can put it. I got to be uncomfortable to gain even more knowledge and grow what I do. If I lose people along the way, that's okay. That's part of growth. Sometimes when you leave the old chapter and gain a new chapter, it doesn't resonate with everybody. So if you want to do something, you have to be uncomfortable. And being uncomfortable is going against the grain in this community because somebody's got to speak the truth. And I've been doing it for a long time, but it's got to be a little bit louder. Sometimes the charts themselves are the fatigue. People are like, I can only look at this so much. So looking at it from that standpoint, I wanted to go over something real quick. For anybody who doesn't know, let's go back to it. This is a real thing. Where is this at? Let me go to the one that I posted for this. I want to see. I think I put it in the Telegram too. Because I have the official documents that I would prefer to, go through on here. So, basically, the Democrats, and this is how they do it, the dog and pony show. Now they hate Trump, so they did this. They're basically calling for all these cases to be reopened. And they specifically name Ripple XRP's case, which, remember, double jeopardy. You're not, in the USA, unless something crazy happens, I believe this is why they already ruled them. And this is part of that whole conspiracy so that they can't technically go back after them. But this is something that's happening. It's talked about, so we should probably talk about it. So United States House of Representatives Committee on Financial Services, Mr. Paul S. Atkins, Chairman, Securities and Exchange Commission, reply SEC retrenchment from crypto enforcement. Dear Chairman Atkins, we write to express, and this is an official document, we write to express my deepest condolence, deep concern regarding the Securities and Exchange Commission SEC's dramatic retrenchment from its responsibility to investigate and prosecute cases involving crypto asset securities activities that appear to be violations of current securities laws and regulations. Specifically, since January 2025, the SEC has dismissed or closed at least 12 crypto-related cases, including litigated cases against Binance, Coinbase, and Kraken, in which it had received favorable rulings from the courts. Given the industry's history of investor harm and the clear mandate of the securities laws to protect market participants, this turn raises troubling questions about the SEC's priorities and effectiveness. Frankly, it puts both investors and the U.S. economy at risk. And if you're an investor in crypto, not even XRP, you need to know this. The SEC has dismissed important litigated crypto cases without justification. During a time of unprecedented lobbying and donations to President Trump and his associates by the crypto industry, and we talked for a long time, why are they investing in both sides, Democrat and Republicans? You know why? This legislation would have happened either way. If it would have been Kamala Harris who won, the Republicans would have drafted this and said, during a time of unprecedented lobbying and donations to President Harris and her associates, that's all it would say here. That's why they had them, like even Ripple was investing. We're like, why are they investing in the Democrats and Republicans? This had to happen. The SEC has openly and boldly dismissed the majority of its crypto enforcement cases. The litigated matters the SEC has dismissed in the past year include Binance Holdings. On June 5th, 2023, the SEC filed suit against Binance Holdings Ltd., the affiliates, and the founder, Changpeng Zhao. The SEC's 13 charges include allegations that Zhao and Binance entities engaged in an extensive web of deception, conflicts of interest, lack of disclosure, and calculated evasion of the law. On November 21st, 2023, while the SEC's case was pending, CZ separately pleaded guilty to criminal charges that he violated the Bank Secrecy Act, BSA, by causing Binance to fail to implement an effective anti-money laundering program. On June 28, 2024, Judge Amy Berman Jackson, DDC, upheld the majority of the allegations in the SEC's complaint against the motion to dismiss. Specifically, Judge Jackson found that the SEC sufficiently alleged that Binance engaged in fraud, that its offers and sales of its BNB token, the BNB Vault, and BAM staking as a service offering were investment contracts, and that the SEC's declaration of its responsibility to enforce securities laws against crypto companies and their leaders comes at a time when crypto companies are pouring money into the accounts of President Trump. Again, forget whose account it is. They did this on both sides, so there's a reason for this. Their leaders come at a time when crypto companies are pouring money into accounts of President Trump, his family, and his associates. For instance, crypto companies donated at least $85 million to Trump's re-election campaign. Companies whose cases are investigations were dismissed this year, including Coinbase, Kraken, and here's a first mention of Ripple, Robinhood, and Crypto.com, donated at least $1 million each to Trump's inauguration, and we know we had equal, if not more, to Harris's side by Ripple because we followed it. On March 12, 2025, it was announced that an Abu Dhabi state-backed investment firm would invest $2 billion in Binance via World Liberty Financial stablecoin USD1. This investment enabled Binance to support the legitimacy of USD1 and launched it as one of the top stablecoins in the world. The deal is estimated to yield the Trump family approximately $89 million per year in profit. Ooh, this is going to get spicy. 2 months later, the SEC dismissed its case against Binance. The unjustified decision by the SEC to walk away from these and other meritorious enforcement cases against crypto firms has created the unmistakable inference of a pay-to-play scheme. Remember that word, pay-to-play. We talked about this for a long time during the Ripple lawsuit. We have to pay to play. The SEC's decision to let those who violated the securities laws go without consequences, together with recent statements by Chair Atkins, the most crypto tokens are not securities, despite holdings by federal district courts that at least some tokens are securities, has left a vacuum whereby securities violations by crypto firms are not enforced and U.S. investors are not protected. So the SEC can still act to hold Justin Sun accountable. It's amazing. One case offers the SEC an opportunity to demonstrate to Americans that the SEC still has their back. In February 2025, as part of its efforts to shut down cases holding crypto fraudsters accountable, the SEC asked the court to stay its enforcement actions against Justin Sun, founder of the Tron Foundation, SEC versus Sun, case number blah, blah, blah. Unlike the other cases detailed above, this case has not yet been dismissed. The SEC's request to stay the litigation and subsequent efforts to settle the matter may have been unduly influenced by Sun's relationships with the Trump family, including his significant financial contributions to their business. So that investor harmed by the Sun's fraudulent activities may be made whole. I asked the SEC to revisit its request to stay its litigation against Sun and renew that action. So, a lot of FUD about what that actually said inside of it. But now that you heard it, yes, they mentioned Ripple by name. Yes, they're trying to reopen a case. No, they're not trying to reopen Ripple right now. That is FUD and fear. They can't open Ripple case right now because they got double jeopardy right now. Ripple was already ruled not a security. That has weight in the U.S. court system. So that's just, could it go down that road if somehow, some way they really want to hinder the path we're going right now when it comes to cryptocurrency? I suppose they could. I suppose they could. Do I think they will? Probably not. Not with Ripple. That would be like a heat-seeking missile at this point, if we want to be honest with ourselves. Just because of what they, it would be a little different with Ripple. At least it feels like it would be to me. So basically what we're watching for right now is to see if XRP does in fact break down. Because honestly, I have a hard time believing that XDC is just doing this on its own. With all that news we got, I have a hard time believing that XDC is just an outlier and it's the only one that's gonna drop like this. I believe XDC is leading the way of this flush. And the more I look at it, it makes perfect sense for it to come back down and retest that area. That's the breakout point that it was having a problem with. We haven't back tested. So 3.82 cents looks like a legitimate area if you want to try to, let's just say, stab your toes or dip your toes in with XDC. For a second, I was heavily more involved in the market, but I decided to take the standpoint of the market's going to prove it to me until otherwise noted. So I'm more liquidity right now, and if it proves it to me that this is not a weekly reversal candle, I'll be all game. But a lot of these, I'm having a hard. I told you what keeps me up at night is that XDC chart. Is XDC mostly DeFi? Clarity Act restricts DeFi in its current form, so I don't know. Oh, it's gonna be crazy what's happening with that new. Everybody thinks with the Clarity Act, if you don't think it hinders XRP in that Clarity Act or XDC or XLM or our favorite tokens, oh, it's a problem. That Clarity Act, what's built into it, and they keep adding every day. Everybody keeps begging for this Clarity Act. I'm telling you, when you got it and you start, maybe we should read through what's in the Clarity Act together. When you start reading the crypto side of it, like how deep and involved it is, like you're talking about even going on like a wallet. If you want to use a cold wallet, there's a lot of hindrances now once that Clarity Act goes through. It's insane. So they're going to hold that over our head probably the whole year. But the bottom line is they can't. The odds of them passing it before the midterms, I would say, is slim to none. That's right. It takes all the rights from the people and hands it to the bank. This audience is brilliant. You want me to have Google read it out loud, the Clarity Act? I could. I definitely could. Although most people leave when I do that and they prefer me to read it myself. Um, oh, this is such a pain in the ass. So the Clarity Act, HR 3633, is proposed U.S. legislation aiming to bring clear regulation to digital assets, defining roles for the SEC and CFTC, creating rules for stable coins like limiting interest on some and classifying tokens as either digital commodity, CFTC oversight, or investment contracts, SEC oversight. For clearer market structure and investor protection, it's a significant bill that has passed the House but faces challenges in the Senate. So here's I want to go through the whole thing though. Let's see. They always make it such a pain in the ass to find the one I want. No. HR 3633. Okay, so the House Committee on Financial Services, the Digital Asset Market Clarity Act of 2025, the bill would give the commodity, we already know this, so HR 3633 would require that the value of digital commodity related to a mature blockchain be substantially derived from the use and functioning of the blockchain, that it not restrict or privilege any users, and that it limit ownership by certain holders to less than 20% of outstanding units. Among other things, maturity or intended maturity would be a precondition for certain features of the bill's framework. The bill would allow a digital commodity issuer to clarify to the SEC that its related blockchain is mature, and would identify criteria by which the SEC would assess blockchain maturity. HR 3633 would define mature blockchain as blockchain system, together with its related digital commodity that is not controlled by any person or group of persons under common control. The bill would provide an exemption from Securities Act of 1933's registration requirement for offers of investment contract invoking digital commodities on mature blockchains that meet certain conditions. Issues relying on the exemption would be required to limit sales of digital commodities to 75 million over a 12-month period. HR 3633 would require issuers relying on the exemption to file an offering statement. Issuers of digital commodities related to blockchains that are not mature would have to additional reporting requirements. The bill would direct the SEC to write rules with 270 days of enactment implementing additional requirements for blockchains that fail to mature, would be permitted to limit such as issuers' reliance on the exemption to raise additional funds. The bill would not limit access to accredited investors based on income or net worth participation thresholds. The bill suggests that some of the digital commodities subject to the bill may also be investment contract assets. Digital asset that, among other traits, are sold pursuant to investment contracts, a type of security. However, the bill would clarify that an investment contract does not include an investment contract asset. This seems to imply that an instrument must be issued through an investment contract to qualify as an investment contract asset, but an investment contract asset is not itself an investment contract and thus not a security. If you invest in cryptocurrency, don't go anywhere. Just familiarize yourself with all of this. HR 3633 would allow traditional securities markets participants registered with the SEC to engage in secondary market trading upon notification to, but not registration with the CFTC provided regulation by two agencies and is consistent. The bill would permit an alternative trading system, ATS, registered with the SEC, subject to certain limitations, to trade any digital commodity that meets listing standards. I mean, why would you even want to trade crypto with all this nonsense? Seriously. You can't even use under this, wait until we get to, you can't even use a cold wallet for all of this. All of their, not, man, this sucks. Let's see. HR 3633 would allow traditional securities markets participants register with the SEC to engage in secondary market trading upon notification of, but not registration with the CFTC provided regulations by the two agencies is consistent. The bill would permit alternative trading systems, ATS, registered with the SEC, subject to certain limitations, to trade any digital commodity that meets listing standards. The SEC would have jurisdiction and rulemaking. They basically hamstrung us. They're giving all the power to the SEC and the banking side. It says it. Sorry, I'm going to take my bias out of it. The SEC would have jurisdiction and rulemaking authority over the digital commodity transaction of these market participants. Wonder who the participants are in the market. The bill would provide the CFTC with exclusive regulatory jurisdiction over transactions in digital commodities, including spot or cash markets, by or on any entity registered with or required to be registered with it. The bill would require digital commodity exchange DCEs such as the centralized platforms that currently dominate crypto trading, and digital commodity brokers and dealers to register at the CFTC. The bill would establish core principles. Remember, everybody trades crypto because it's supposed to be an unregulated market. I'm not even reading the comments, but if you're on the side of the government and regulation, you are looking at this wrong. This is going to kill crypto for retail and put it into the bankers' hands. If you don't understand what's happening here, with which exchanges would be required to comply, it would include trade monitoring, record keeping, and reporting addressing antitrust considerations, and minimizing conflicts of interest amongst others. The bill would prohibit a DCE from coming ling its assets with those of customers, but a customer could waive this for certain reasons. The bill would prohibit DCEs and their affiliates from trading for their own accounts, but would allow the CFTC to write rules permitting such trading for certain specified purposes. Just rewrite your rules as we go along, CFTC. The bill would require that the bankruptcy code be updated to account for funds held by DCEs, but would omit funds waived from the commingling prohibition. Oh, we're using words like prohibition now. Oh, this is great. I didn't even realize that word was in prohibition. The commingling prohibition. Excellent. Listen, DCEs would be permitted to offer for trade-only digital commodities whose related blockchains are certified as mature or for blockchains not yet mature. Those issuers comply with ongoing reporting requirements. Say goodbye to non-KYC exchanges. Say goodbye to cold wallets. Cold wallets are goodbye. Because cold wallets right now are a way that people like to send it so that they don't have to, once they put it back to the exchange, then obviously it becomes something. But people like that whose issuers comply, blah, blah, blah. DCs would be required to publish certain information. This is where it's at. DCEs would be permitted to offer for trade-only digital commodities whose related blockchains are certified as mature, or for blockchains not yet mature, whose issuers comply with ongoing reporting requirements. Prior to listing new digital commodities, DCEs would be required to publish certain information, including source code, transaction history, and digital commodity economics. New certifications would become effective 20 days after filing. CFTC disapprovals would require detailed analysis. HR 3633 would establish a provisional registration that would regulate DCEs, brokers, and dealers until the bill is implemented. Entities that apply for registration would be considered compliant with the provisional registration regime, subject to certain conditions, which include protecting customer assets and allowing the CFTC access their books and records. Oh, man. I think everybody misses the bigger issue here. Think about the no KYC exchanges that are just going to take everybody's money and run away day one. Because they're not going to give access to their books and all this crap. A provision permitted for the would establish a provisional registration that would regulate DCEs, brokers, and dealers until the bill is implemented. Okay, so allowing the CFTC to access their books and records, a provision permitting the CFTC to collect fees from intermediaries filing under the provisional registration would sunset after 4 years. Decentralized finance activities such as validating would be excluded from the bill's requirement, but not from the agency's anti-fraud and anti-manipulation authorities. So DeFi, decentralized finance, it would be excluded from the bill's requirements. So the DeFi part, it's a big deal, but depending on how far they go. The bill would also apply the Bank Secrecy Act to new. This is the part that bothers me. That's the part that bothers me. Subjecting them to its anti-money laundering requirements, amend the Bank Holding Company Act to allow financial holding companies and qualified banks to conduct digital commodities activities. So, with the Bank Secrecy Act, disarming us from being able to basically, oh, there's so much in there. There's so much in there. But they basically are going to amend and allow financial institutions like banks to control the power. Limit SEC and CFTC jurisdiction over payment stablecoins to transactions involving registered entities and create a qualified digital asset custodian requirement, which may include banks that could be subject to state or federal regulation by various regulators depending on type. This is all fucked. As retail, we can't afford to pay to play. The Bank Secrecy Act, you ask, is a big F you to all of us. The Bank Secrecy Act 31 USC 5311 at SEC establishes program record keeping and reporting requirements for national banks, federal savings association, federal branches and agencies, and foreign banks. The OCC's implementing regulations are found at blah, blah, blah. So this regulation requires every national bank and savings association to have a written board-approved program that is reasonably designed to assure and monitor compliance with the BSA. The program must, at a minimum, provide for a system of internal control to assure ongoing compliance, provide for independent testing for compliance, designate an individual responsible for coordinating and monitoring day-to-day compliance, provide training. All of this. So Section 531A of the Bank Secrecy Act authorizes the Secretary of the Treasury to designate a foreign jurisdiction, institution, class of transactions, or type of account as being the primary money laundering concerns. So currency transaction reporting of internal transport. It's all of this crap. And then what did they do? They're going to amend the Bank Holding Act. Yep. Okay, love you. Be safe. So this basically says that the companies that control banks are required to be regulated and supervised by the Federal Reserve as bank holding companies. The BHC structure is widely used by both small. So now they don't even need to, basically, they don't even need any kind of oversight now. The banks can basically go unabated while we're going to have all the hinder on the blockchains. That's the problem. And everybody really wants this. That's why I don't like the ledgers. I can see what's happening here. And it's a scary thing. The only thing that I hope is true is the fact that they're not going to be able to pass this when we have midterms coming up. Hopefully. It's oh man. It's a big problem. The bull run, unfortunately, that some don't even realize has already happened. We had a bull run. It ended initially in January, and we had a double top sometime a couple months later. So, the truth is we already had a crypto bull market. And now we're in a crypto winter. And XRP right now, what it's doing right now, it's got, in the smaller time frames, it's fighting. It is fighting to not give this up. And it's probably going to come back up and try to retest this area, maybe. Even if it were to break down. It's trying to not give this up. And we need to, if we're going to do it, we need to do it now. Like, we need to do it now for XRP. When I say, I mean now, today, this instant, now. We can't afford to not go right now. We need this to go now. If we're not gonna take the stairs back down, I don't know how else to put this. Did I mention we have to do this now? Like now. Oh, Joseph Euler, thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge. And gifting a sub. That is so awesome to Victor. Congratulations, Victor, on getting your second month with the Dusty's Autos Crypto News. Thank you, Joseph, for the pay it forward mentality. If anybody wants to learn deeper than just the charts, including the charts, but the psychology of the markets, everything that plays into it, even things you might not have ever thought about. You know, it's a much deeper thing before you invest in any market, let alone crypto or risk asset. You need to learn a lot of other things before you can even get here. So if you're interested in classes, check on my YouTube membership area. Be starting February 1st. We have 15 people signed up right now. And I used to teach and other things, so it's going to be as if you were on Zoom and you're in a class at college, because I'm going to be using the same kind of setup. Um, but you can learn everything, and we have 5 phases before we ever look at a chart. So if you want to learn everything that's involved in being a good trader, and not only being a trader, but now you can be your own financial advisor, you can be your own economist, you can be your own market analyst, you'll be able to be your own representative, you can do, and then you can be your own technical advisor as well. That's what we're going to go through step by step, and it's going to be a several year long process. But anybody who goes through the whole thing, and then you don't even need to be there live, because every single class will be saved on YouTube in that members area, which will only be available to that section. So I'm not going to talk about it on here once it starts, except to let people know that they can see them or whatever. But yeah, be a part of that. That's legitimately leveling up. So that's something that I want to make sure to mention at least for a split second. So anyhow, back to business. We're still in an inverse head and shoulders. Could be a W reversal here. So we're not done yet. We are not done by a long shot, ladies and gentlemen. It's just we keep squeezing ourselves here. And what we need to figure out is, as a unit, what is this weekly candle? What is that weekly candle? Because that wick pulled down so far, I don't know. I don't think it can be a spinning top, at least not where it's pulled to. I don't know about an inverted hammer because it pulled down too far. It hasn't pulled down far enough to be a long leg doji, but can it be a gravestone doji? Can it still be a gravestone? Well, we went through some of the other ones. Let's try to learn in real time, right? The gravestone doji. And yes, it's easy. When I show you it and I say, oh, look up these, but what if you didn't know what to look for? What if you didn't know what a gravestone, you didn't even know that terminology? You certainly couldn't go on Google. Everybody's like, oh, just ask Google. But what if you don't know what to ask for? So that, you're talking about the gravestone like this, but is that what we have? Is that what we have? Because that might be the one that fits best. However, look how far that pulled down. That's a pretty far pull. That is such a far pull down. It's kind of throwing everything off. What do you guys think of this? What do you think this actually is? I'm curious. I'm generally curious. I really am curious. So, you know what? Why don't we add some spice to this? Let's ask Google. See if Google wants to take a shot at this. AI mode is not currently available on your device or your account. Oh, so I was using that on the other Google one? Well, how stupid. See, that's what's interesting when you have a tablet. Yeah, see, it's not available, guys, but how funny is it that it's available on my device through Google? Isn't that funny how that works? Okay, on the current weekly candle, what is that candle? Did it not hear me? Oh, maybe because I'm on my live? Who the hell knows? What is this weekly candle called? How's this? That's no, they're talking about the last week's candle. No, this week's candle. Ugh, I should have just asked Gemini. My own fault. My own fault.
If the current weekly candlestick for XRP
the pin bar, see?
closes in it.
Weren't we talking about the pin bar when we started? That's what we talked about, the pin bar. Remember when we started this live and we talked about the pin bar doji? It's still it's a form of it's kind of a form of a spinning top, but it's actually called a pin bar. We talked about it at the beginning. I'm glad they said that.
Its current state, it would be classified as a shooting star.
Yeah, the shooting star, the variant of a bearish pin bar. So it still is a shooting star like we talked about, but it's a bearish pin bar. That's what I think it is.
Variant of a bearish pin bar. Technical characteristics. Based on the image, the candle shows the following key features. Long upper wick. This indicates that buyers pushed the price significantly higher during the week, reaching above 2.14, but were met with strong selling pressure that drove the price back down. Small real body. The body is relatively small compared to the wick, suggesting a struggle for direction where the bears ultimately won the intraday battle. Positioning. Because this is appearing after a massive bullish surge, the giant green candle prior, it is considered a reversal signal. Market implications. Rejection of higher prices. The long wick suggests that the market is currently rejecting prices above the 2.08 minus 2.10 range. Potential consolidation or pullback. A shooting star often marks a temporary top. Traders typically look for the next candle to break below the body of this.
Remember the bearish FVG you were talking about, or the gap? You've been talking about it, where is it, $1.96, $1.98 area it could go down to? Look at this. Potential consolidation or pullback. A shooting star often marks a temporary top. Traders typically look for the next candle to break below the body of this star to confirm a move toward lower support levels. The yellow arrow, I don't want it to move towards the dollar. Hold on. Forget my arrows. Your analysis only. So I mean, immediate support, like there's, but it's the same thing. So if, I think we're right about that, though. I really do. I think we're right about calling that a shooting star. But it's the pin. No. Where the hell's the pin bar? I showed it earlier. So hard to find on here. That's why I was surprised it showed it. But again, like how far it pulled down, is it really? Because if it's so hard because it pulled down the way it did, but it is certainly showing those signs. I mean, technically it fits this. It technically fits that. If it... I mean, that looks... Fuck. I don't trust it. I don't trust it. This looks like a bearish reversal. And like I keep saying, I don't believe that XDC is just doing its own thing to do its own thing. I can't get over that. There's no way that XDC is just breaking down on its own when everything else is just going to go and run up to oblivion. I just don't believe it. So the market's going to prove me wrong. It's either going to prove me wrong or prove my analysis and my gut instinct right, even though I don't want it to be right. Let's face it, I don't want it to be right. You know, I don't want this to happen like this. I would prefer for it not to be like that. You can go later. Oh, okay. I love you too. But we have to see what the fuck XRP does go to 589. You just don't understand. Laugh out loud. Or I don't know if you're trying to rage bait or if you're being serious. Good luck on all your TA. You can look at these charts until you go blind. Nobody knows. It's all speculation. I disagree. I looked at these charts, all we did, and look how much money we made. And look how many different things we owed because of what happened with XRP in 21, knowing to buy in before, selling in the bull market, knowing to buy sub 40 cents while everybody else was chasing, knowing exactly where to sell at the top in 2025, pushing it into metals at the exact right time, buying in 22 with profits, gold and silver when it was 1600, 1700, 1800, and silver between 16 and 25 with profits, building up a $3,000 account and being able to do this, but it took 5 years to be able to have assets where you have 6 figures worth between metals and crypto when you want to be invested. I disagree with what you're saying. Don't stare at the charts and just throw your money blindly like a dart. That's great. You don't want to do that. Don't sell yourself short. Technicals are absolutely important. Everybody who sells that fact short, you're missing it. You miss it. You just want to at least be alerted that if this plays out in a more bearish fashion, that you're alerted to it. If it reverses this and doesn't happen, we're golden. If we get some volume, but you still want to be in control of this. Everybody who says that, I can already tell you, you don't make profit in crypto. You just, I'm not even necessarily talking about you, Maritime. I've gotten a bunch of comments like that. So you might have been satire, but this is the overwhelming, Peter, just chilling here. Yes, just chilling. I like that. Yeah, Maritime, I understand. That's why I was saying there was a lot of other people that have made the same comment. Yeah, there are MQ, but it's just that's the point of what this live was about, though. We get thrown off because we all have that. I even said that in the start of this live. If you go back and watch, if you're just coming in, I talked about how people will come in and say the technicals don't matter and that we can just buy and hold forever, but we don't need to know what we're buying or why we're buying or how we're buying or where we're buying or what the circumstances. It's going to go to 589 or a million or 10 million just because, you know. That's why we're still looking. And we said this isn't dead yet. This inverse head and shoulders is still here until it's not. Obviously, we have something else forming that we have to worry about, but we can get outside of it. And for our sake, we're going to need to get outside of this. Whoops. This is a tricky one to even look at, the way it's consolidating. Because there's arguments you could make, but you probably make it like this. Something like that. But so we just got to break out of this consolidation. I'm not asking for XRP to do so much. Just asking for it to get above $2.0588 roughly. That's it. I'm not asking for a lot. Hello, Tom and Army, sending the positive vibes. It was a late night lady. Consoling a friend who lost their dog at 50. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. So tough. That's so tough. Hopefully, she can find solace in the memories and that she can, at least embrace the good times with her little friend. I've still never got another dog after my dog Sparky passed away after 18 years. So I know the feeling. I know the feeling. XLM's down at support again on this pattern. And if we look at that, it's all up to us. Is this a symmetrical triangle? Like, that's what we have to ask ourselves. Otherwise, if this is a symmetrical triangle and it can hold, we're at a nice support structure here. It just, is this a fake out? Is it actually? Because a lot of times you got to remember, yes, a symmetrical triangle coming in from a resistance hit like that can push it up, but it's also still a neutral continuation pattern. So because the market was on a downtrend before we had this little bounce up, it is possible that this is the neutral continuation pattern. This is just a bearish consolidation. And then you would come back and retest where the wedge broke out of. I just want everybody to understand that just because it is a symmetrical triangle, they're technically a neutral continuation pattern. And yes, technically because it came out a resistance hit, you would look at it as more of a bullish consolidation. But because the overall trend, when in doubt, pull it out, because the overall trend is down, it could play as a bearish consolidation to where it still needs to come down farther. You know, even in the scenario of trying to measure this move, it could find itself back at the bottom of this little liquidity zone. If we break down, though, I mean, we could invalidate this whole structure. So we can't, there's nothing confirmed yet. We can only go on what we're seeing. What we're really looking for is a strong reversal to the top side in the next couple of hours. Does it make me feel good that XDC fell out another 2.59%? No, not particularly, but with this bearish consolidation, you had to expect it. The way it was consolidating, there was no volume. That's a bearish setup. That's just a new bearish continuation. And it at least played. We're trying to find volume somewhere. Does it make me feel good that H-bar was breaking up and then it broke outside of this ascending wedge? No, because again, if it breaks down beyond this and then it comes and breaks the 11.4, it invalidates that entire pattern. And then maybe it's really not a symmetrical. And what if it does set up something like this and it comes down and taps it? And now all of a sudden we've got like there's so much stuff that can happen here. So let's not speculate. Let's just, for what we have right now. You know, and for the other part of this, they're not even confirmed patterns. We only have 2 hits on resistance and support. You technically need 3 hits on each side to confirm a pattern. So with that, like I've said for the last 2, it's just speculation until this either taps support and goes back up or breaks down. The first bad sign is it came down below this, what looks like an ascending wedge. Or an ascending broadening wedge at that, which can be a bearish continuation pattern, if you want to be honest. If it breaks out with volume, it confirms the pattern reversal. If it plays this and breaks down and there was no volume, it confirms that it was a bearish consolidation and the basic setup is just kind of a fake zone. When you look at the volume, nothing got confirmed with volume. So now we've left ourselves in a bad spot. And I still don't believe that XDC is just doing this on its own. Like, I like that. I don't like that it's doing this, but I like that at least they're following the same agenda right now in the weekly. Got a little question in my mind that these are building something not so pretty right now. But they had the ability to break out. But now look, weekly reversals are setting up here now. So, and there's only 6 hours left right now. Ethereum, on the other hand, depending on if this pulls back farther, you know, we'll see. Or if it breaks out, we'll just see how this ends up going. I'd say Bitcoin's on the verge of making this a spinning top if it's not already a spinning top candle. So, Mrs. Stott, thank you so much for being in Tom's under 3+ months with the XRP Meteor. And Mr. Stott, I hope you're doing well as well. Mrs. Stott says, I'm way more sensitive to animals than humans. Some people don't understand that, but I can't help it. I understand that. 100%. You should see how I treat my squirrel friends and all the rat friends and all the animals, the birds, anything. I like that. But I also understand that we are meat eaters and we have to, there's certain things that, just a cycle of life. It's a great time to be alive. 60 today, and I'm glad to be here with Tom's Army. Hey, thank you so much for being in Tom's Army for 3+ months with the XRP Meteor Storm. And happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear GA Storm Rider. Happy birthday to you. We all know how old you are. 60's the new 40. You've lived 6 decades today. You've seen a lot, but you have a lot more to see, my friend. We appreciate your wisdom here and allowing us some guidance on the things that we know not of. At least I don't. I'm 42, but I'm doing everything in my power to get to 60 and beyond. So I guess the question is, are we just waiting for a drop, or do we are we suspecting that something bigger can come of this? Because right now what it's showing us is not great. It's not. We've still got, like I said, we got 7 hours to try to flip this a little bit, but it seems like we're running out of just potential volume here. Elmer, you don't eat animals. Well, I can't, I don't want to speak on what you do. Just be careful. Make sure you get enough I once was a vegetarian for about 2 years because I was sick of eating other people's meals because I don't like a lot of weird stuff. Like even meats, if it's not made like real bland and basic, I don't like to put a lot of stuff in my food. So I went through a process where I literally became vegetarian for like 2 years so I wouldn't have to eat meat at people's house. It was that bad. And I stuck to it. I didn't do it. And I ended up having a lot of deficiencies in different areas with vitamins, like your iron and vitamin C and D, and all the stuff was low. The only time in my life that it was ever low was during that time. I think, and I got in trouble well, I didn't get in trouble. I had a lot of, I've been getting about, I don't know, anywhere between 80 and 120,000 views a day on Facebook the last week. But I got a little, some people were a little upset because I said XRP is a lot closer to going sub-dollar than $589. And people were so mad. I think when we get to the right spot, there's a lot of things that'll make more than XRP. But you got to remember, it's not an apples to apples comparison sometimes. Unless you're selling out all your XRP and putting every one of those dollars into that other token. Because even if that other token, if you have $3,000 in it and it moves 2x, you're making $6,000. If XRP, moves a 28% move, because of how much money is in it, you still make the same amount of money. So if but then again, the upside potential for XRP, it ain't moving 500% in a quick move because of the market cap. Whoever doesn't understand market cap, it's not good. With how many tokens we have, if you don't understand that part of it. Like people, market cap doesn't matter. Yes, it does. Yes, it does, because it takes X amount of dollars to move it $1. $1 billion if you have 1 billion tokens. We have 57 billion right now or so. So it means for every $1 we move up, the market cap of XRP has to grow by $57 billion right now, roughly. So in order for us to get back to $3, we're going to have to be near, and we already know, we've seen this before. When we were at $3.70, the market cap was at 214 billion. That's a lot. So you have to move the market in the right way. Right now, the market's moving in the wrong way, but that doesn't mean it always will. I still believe that XRP is going to have that run from $10 to $20. Now, if it gets under $1 again, and some people, so I can tell you this for a fact, though. I did this in 2021 when we went up to $2, $1.98. And every single person that kept lighting up my chat saying you just need to buy now, need to buy now, need to buy now, they're buying the dip, they're buying the dip, when I told them to be liquidated, every single one of those people had no money to spend, or when it got down to 40 cents, they were convinced it was going lower. Literally, you should have heard all the people that didn't buy at 34 because they thought and were convinced it was going to go to 10 cents or 5 because it came that far. But they just bought it at $1.70, $2 almost, $1.20, $1.50, 89. But they wouldn't buy it at 35 cents. So when it gets back down there, I'm convinced retail is going to do the same thing. They're only buying it now because they're greedy and everybody's telling them it's going to a million. When it goes under sub-dollar, if it does, it's got about a 70% chance to do that, in my opinion, with current setup. They're going to end up not buying it because they just bought the entire bull trap. And then when it gets back into the bear market consolidations, they run away. It was the same thing with miners. Look at silver the other day. People were on here buying it at 91. They're talking about 92, 91. It made the dip to 86 or 87 and they said it's over. Or they were buying it at 83 and then the one time it went back down to 69, they wouldn't buy it. I can remember it like it was yesterday. It's over. I shouldn't have bought it at 83. You bought it at 83, go buy it at 69. You know, kind of thing. Even though you're paying 75 or, I mean, a big indicator of where we're going is how high the premiums are. The higher the premium, there's typically, and there's different restriction and different variables, but typically the higher the higher the premium, the less supply. Because they're trying to keep it on the shelf and it's almost like if you have a rare item and it should be $30, but because you're running out of stock, you're like, well, I don't want anybody to buy it. I'm just going to put it at 70. And then some asshole buys it and you're like, well, what the? Now I got to put it at 90. Now some other idiot buys it and you're like, well, now I only got 2 left. You know, and then it becomes, how much do you really want this item? And that's what's happening with silver, especially in Shanghai. You could have it at 91 on their exchange, but it's all the way up to 116 in some cases, 106, 101. Yeah, UBI is a real big thing. Universal basic income is coming. They even hit us with a cartoon. Universal basic, guys. The guy got fired from his job because it got taken over by robots, and he lives on universal basic income. Seriously, that's what the show talks about it, and it's in the intro. It's great. I actually like the show. That's why I won't invest in WorldCoin. I don't care. Because WorldCoin is actually the backing of the universal income, if you read into the infrastructure bill. I mean, I could invest in it at some point, but I just don't want to be a part of that. But, I mean, if we're being honest with ourselves about XRP, you can only come down so far here if we want to keep claiming that this is not a very bearish pattern. And, like, I mean, I don't want to be that guy. We don't need to be this guy. We don't want to be that guy. I mean, because do you want me to be that guy? I can be that guy for a second, and then you guys might get a little mad. But we can be that guy because of where we're at in the chart. XDC, we already know. That pattern setup now looks more like a, well, here, let's have a study. Downtrending resistance, downtrending support, creating the triangle. We got some smart guys in here. What is this pattern? What is this pattern? Edward, thanks for not only being in town during 3+ months with the XP Meteor, but also a $2 super chat. You generous sons of bitches. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. Oh, I know it's bearish. Well, I can't tell you if it's bearish or bullish. Stricken what I was about to say. I want to know the actual pattern, though. What is this pattern from roughly January or December 16th, 17th? Lower highs, lower lows, form triangle. Like literally, I'm trying to show you ways you can look at this when you're not even talking to me, when you're not talking or seeing what I'm showing you. I'm trying to show you guys, okay? So this is ways you can type stuff in yourself, okay? But there's different things, like look at the different. You have lower highs and higher lows. You have different kind of patterns. But if you understand what all these patterns are, I'm telling you, no matter what anybody says, you can't fail. And then if it breaks bullish out of these patterns, all the better news. Oh, not a triangle, duh. It's not. So if you have lower highs and lower lows, I'm trying to find one that fits the best. Because this can actually, if it would have stayed above, this is why it's weird. Because technically, when you're looking at this, you're looking more like it at, and this is a perfect, get out of my way. Where was that at? I had a perfect one on there for you to see. Because it would have signified, oh man, where'd that chart go? Oh, it was perfect. Oh. Because then I could have showed you the XDC chart and showed you where it went wrong. This one. See how we were up, descending triangle continuation? I mean, a descending wedge or falling wedge. Well, we came into it on a downward spiral, and XDC failed to materialize anything of substance. We still went in up, but we fell outside of it right now. So this should have been, could have been, was meant to be a bullish consolidation, except it broke down. Tom, have your TA I've ever been? Of course, my TA's been wrong. I'm not 100%, but the setups, they can't be wrong, because if it breaks out, we know we're not making a prediction of where we're going. We're predicting it based on the movement outside of the pattern. So of course it's wrong, but I don't allow it to be wrong in 2026, because I don't say definitively in my own heart which way it's going to go. I let the pattern speak. Right now, this should have, in theory, this should have been a bullish consolidation, but things happen. Things happened, and now it's breaking down. So we have to be honest with ourselves. Either this is a quick wick down, and we're going to pull our asses up, but when you think about that, we only have 6 hours left to do so. Or we broke down the structure, and something bigger is coming across the board, and it's a problem, because with XDC, I've talked about it. We should not come below, in my opinion, because you've got a all-time left shoulder built here, an all-time big inverse head, an all-time inverse right shoulder. But I started to stare at this a while ago, and we looked at areas. Well, where does it get comfortable? Well, a lot of times it does get comfortable right around the 4-3 area, but there's been instances where we've come through here, then came back up. We've come to instances where we had to come all the way back down to this level, which I don't necessarily want to come back down there, but I wouldn't kill it if it did. I would prefer for 3.8, 3.6 maybe to mark a bottom, and I think that would be okay. But if we invalidate this entire structure, I mean, would that not be an all-time kick in the scrollies? Because if this one goes down the shitter, if this one actually ended up falling apart, I don't know what it means for the rest. Now, could it mean that we broke out early, back test, and then when we come back up like this, we can do something like that, and then you look at it and you say, oh my God, we had a 1, 2, a triple bottom, and an ascending. I mean, could that be? I don't really want that to happen, but is that a possibility? And then it's really not an inverse head and shoulders, and it just is going for a triple bottom? Would that mean that it would break down, and then all of a sudden we have to start somewhere in a different area and restart? Like, I don't want to go there necessarily. Like, this is just an all-time inverted left shoulder, then an all-time inverted head, then I told you, this is what keeps me up at night with this chart. Like, is that possible that we're doing something like this and across crypto? Because if XRP goes sub $1, there's got to be some kind of thing coming for XDC, or maybe we're in the midst of it. Like, how are we supposed to approach this right now? That's why I like the charts. That's why I like the charts. That's why I like how these classes are going to be. That's why I can't wait to see how many people stick it out. That's why in 2 years from now, the ones who are in the classes, we're all going to be having this conversation. 1 year from now with certain things, 6 months for others. But we're going to be able to have such a conversation here that it's going to be unbelievable. Oh, good. See, that's the other thing, like the charts. The charts are another big thing too. Like you have to, all charts are different. That's why I like to have a lot of charts. So that's fair. XDC chart on another one could look different. Which one am I using? Am I using the Bitfinex one right now? Hey, this is the other chart. This is the other chart that I was speculating on a long time ago. I made my own speculation that we would come down and create a head. Does anybody remember this chart? Wow, I haven't looked at this in a long time. Remember this speculation? This was the speculation that we were going to come down. Wow, look at that. I'm glad I pulled this back up. Look at this chart. This one kind of starting to look good. That was me. Well, I have to fix it a little bit because of the update. But basically, it was like that. And then I was projecting that it would create its own setup on an inverse head. I think it's actually farther down. It just set it up. Yeah. This was my own projection. that it was actually going to come down and do something like that. And then try to build out. You have a nice bag at 6 cents Canadian. I don't know what that equals right now, but just pay attention to these charts though, because there's a case to be made that if this falls out, if this falls out, and I'm telling you, there's some weird stuff that can happen here because in theory, when we came up here, we came up fast. We've come up hard. We back tested this move back around. Now we've never come back, and I'm just being honest. XDC, if you want to start talking about, hey, Tom, I mean, if we want to go there, we can go there. Swung out. There's been no ensuance of a back test in this area ever. This whole box has never been back tested after the breakout. So if you want to ask me what I'm looking at, I might be staring there. That's all I do now, Blankgood. I buy support, sell resistance until it proves to me that we're in an extended bullish period. Right now, you can only go on that logic. Man, the more I look at this, I'm almost convinced now if I reset this up for XD, because none of this was really it wasn't set up in the same way after it pulled out. So I had to project all of this back in the past. I think that was a damn good projection, though, from where we were at. I really do. The only thing I honestly don't hate that. Because when we drew this out, that was so long ago. But yeah, this isn't the bust balls. This is just, let's be honest with ourselves, where we're at in the market. I would rather know what's going on in the market. Oh, I'm using the crypto.com one. No wonder it's a crappy chart. Yeah, I got to get away from that one because that doesn't show the farther history. Okay. That Bitfinex one was kind of cool. Let's see if I can find one that's not written on. Nope. What did the one say? Bit something. Might have been Bitstamp, the person said. Nope, that's only from 24. I mean, there was a few that had XDC on there a long time ago. The best one might be the one I had on there. This one is just unrealistic. This one's because I don't like the ones like this. That's why I try to stay away from them. Just unrealistic the way it did that because it's unrealistic. I think I'm just gonna go to my XDC one and just maybe start rewriting over it a little bit on the Bitfinex one because that was my favorite one for a long time. Because it goes back and it shows you this setup where it had this inverse pattern setup back in 2018. So, man, this is the one. These are the ones that'll leave you sleeping. This is the one that keeps you wondering. Anyhow, I know I've been on a long time. You guys are probably bored of me. We do have 118 people still here. Oh, Knick Knack Paddywhack, thanks for the $20 super chat. Really appreciate that, my friend says. Thank you, Tom, for what you do for the community. I appreciate that sentiment. I really do. Thank you so much for that. Syrian, yes, good luck with your move. And thank you so much for being a very strong part of this community. Just a mod in here and in the Telegram and in Tom's Army for over a year. Just stay safe and have a blessed time and enjoy the move. I personally can't stand moving, but it's a necessary evil, and it's often signs that maybe well, I don't know your situation. Maybe you're upgrading. Maybe you're going somewhere that's a little easier. Man, we're in such a not cooked, but we're in a weird spot. Bitcoin, it's funny, has liquidity in two different spots right now. Like you could literally talk about the 90K zone, you could talk about the 88K zone, or you could talk about coming up into the 98K liquidity zone, which the big box is up here as well. So we have hope. We do have hope for Bitcoin, but it's not. I mean, the altcoins are just, they're super volatile right now. So, like I said, if you find a spot that you feel comfortable and you gotta take your shot, but at the same time, I would definitely pay attention to resistance support areas now, because we're in a bear market, and technically, and when you're in a bear market, once you exhaust yourself, and by the readings of some of the stochastic, some things are exhausting themselves in the area. Bitcoin's not in that spot as of yet. Now, if it gets a rejection here, if it fails to break out, well, yes, obviously it'll start meeting some of that quota. But right now, even XRP hasn't met that yet. It hasn't broken down like some of the other ones. So until it does, we can at least talk about it in both settings, but still talk about the fact that we have areas. Like I would almost say for Bitcoin, he was trying to target this box if we break to the top side. Somewhere in that box is where Bitcoin would be aiming for that liquidity. Actually, it's a little bit lower. Hold on. I think it's right at 98, something like that. This would be like the red siphoning area because you would get into that liquidity. Oh, thank you, Knick Knack Paddywhack. I really appreciate that. I said it right, cooked. Unfortunately, yes. Fear and greed index at 49. I have a feeling it will drop, but shocked it's still that high. I know, me too. It's kind of alarming that it's still around 50. But I mean, Bitcoin is still not broken down. In fact, that liquidity area is still more than possible. It is more than possible to come up here. In fact, for the market's sake, we need it to come back up there. Although, even when Bitcoin is holding on, some of the rest of the market is just, like I said, it's not just an XDC thing, but it's because that's a flat support, it looks like here. But now we got to figure out where the rest of this is coming from, because we don't really have any kind of guidance here. Like we could say this. We could say something like that, I suppose. And we're breaking out of, looks like almost a symmetrical. Oh, maybe not symmetrical. But it's so widely extended that this doesn't look like a topping reversal anymore. It looks like an inverse pattern, just waiting. Just looks like an inverse pattern waiting. That's why it gives me like this feeling like it looks like we could come up here and finish a cut for Bitcoin. It does. And what does that mean? Does that mean that XRP is sitting here and then we can just get volatile? Like one can be hopeful. It was Bitcoin just doing its own thing and we're getting dragged in the mud. Because, I mean, even the way these candles are forming in the hourly, those don't necessarily look great. But then again, you could pull, who knows? It just, man. Edward, thanks for being in town for 3+ months with the XP Meteor and the $5 super chat. If precious metals had a bull now, What would that do to crypto and XRP? Well, there's two philosophies here. One, not much would change because we already don't have a lot of, money coming in. Or two, it could create a suppression style event where we thought that there was going to be a flip, and with the continuation up and not just gold, silver, but mining stocks as well, that a lot of people might find, they might find an exit strategy because they say, why would I invest in a risk asset? And this is what we don't want to tempt fate with. Remember, retail is going to go where they think the money's safer. So they're not going to invest in a risk asset when they see silver making as much as it has, gold being up as much as it has. And if the miners start kicking on here another year, and they actually do break out of this decade-long, 15-year consolidation, people are going to start to flock there. And, it'll be the last third of the move for the time being, but they'll all be pouring in on that top part of the slope. As to where with crypto, we could be on the bottom side, and we could be starting a different kind of fundamental setup. Like, I could even, like, we have this like this, but it kind of blocks out what the pattern is too. But like, if you draw it from up here, I mean, you can argue that you could come from here and just draw it across, and that we're still not quite figured this out yet. We've still not figured it out in this entire consolidation. It's actually astounding, if you ask me, that we've gone this long. And again, this is also creating a wide pattern, and Bitcoin started to go up around where about, let's see where exactly it started to hook back up. About, came down, came back, started to push up. For XRP, we're almost too far. Bitcoin pulled up right about here, so we can't, that's why I said at the start, we can't afford to lose this little setup we're in. If this is lost, it's going to invalidate this entire setup. We're on the, that's the problem. We are on the verge, if we come down too far, of invalidating this whole setup. Now, does that mean Bitcoin was just faking everybody out to get the illusion that we're about to break up and then it just drops the hammer? So, yeah, I mean, I hope that answered your question, Edward, the best I could. It's just, if we get that right psychological flip, a lot of money's going to end up drying up from retail, and that might be what they're looking for here. And the other thing is we're only 1 day out now from a war in Iran possibly starting. They were 2 days out on the ground. Can somebody say it in the chat so that I'm not the one saying it? What army or what military force was approaching Iran? And yesterday it was 2 days out, which puts them 24 to 36 hours out right now. Can somebody please enlighten our audience? I don't want to say the names so that people can't say I'm inciting a riot. Thinking in 26. Oliver, thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge, and also a $2 super chat. Said, hi, Tom, Chart and Community Hub. Excellent. Another strong feature of the community. If you want to be a part of all of this, 53,000 messages now. Holy schmugglies. Does anybody know what I'm talking about, or am I speaking into the wall? Somebody should, hopefully. Somebody should. So, 3147 for XDC is where that is under. I love that area. If XDC is going down there, I really like that spot. Yes, the Marines, Navy, but what country? What country is going to what other country? Enlighten me, audience. What country is going to other countries? Ooh, I love it. I like that 314 area a lot. Yes, John? And where are we going? Oh, I'm sorry. Where are our unified militia or marine or our army for our country protectors going? Yes, Iran. What other country is joining us in Iran? Ah, Greenland too. But we already had. So what other country? Edward, thanks for the $10 super chat and also in towns under 3+ months with the XP meter. This is what I like. Super chats to get my attention for comments. See, this live's been better because I haven't gone through every comment because it takes too much time. This is how you get my attention. Pay it forward, baby. What happens if raw 999 silver crashes the paper silver, which I think I see coming? That's going to be one of the biggest tug of wars you've ever seen because paper silver prices are not tied in any way to the actual physical silver. As far as like the iSilver Trust and other ones, now you can get physical silver ETFs, which are 100% tied to the physical price of silver, and you can, that's a little bit different. But the actual silver, like iSilver Trust and things like that, SLV, that's going to have big implications. But I don't think we're there yet. That would deplete the paper market. But then again, now everybody's trying to get cash on delivery, which now makes it even less viable that we would have physical silver, which is going to make the physical market go astronomically higher if that happens. Israel, Qatar, Jordan, Egypt. There we go. There we go. I love this. I love this community. Thank you. And the U.S. is in on this as well. And that's why I always say don't hold paper silver. There was a time that I would hold SLV back in 2022 for run-ups after it bottomed out, but I stopped that before 2023 when the market started to run up because it's just, yeah. If you're not holding your own metals and have a crypto hard wallet, then you are lost. Well, I agree with you with the metals, but the crypto hard wallet is not as big of a safe keeper as you all think. It's still a physical cold. You're just holding a hard drive, or you're just holding a cold wallet USB. You hold it no more than you did before. You're putting in trust that this third-party application is going to work the way it's designed to. Remember, every single shill on YouTube shilled a cold wallet. Ask yourself why. Every single shill pushes the software, and ask yourself why. In no other market do I say I'm going to buy a stock, but I need to put that stock on a USB so that I can own it. If that's the case, we need to all get out of crypto. And we might be going there. See, I don't hate this at all. I don't hate this setup at all because it could find itself at that calamity point where it's literally right there on the chart. Man, I like this. Who sent this again? Oliver sent this. Oliver. Falling wedge inside of falling wedge, right close to support. Yep. That's all we have to watch to see how this candle finishes out. Excellent charting, my friend. Oliver, excellent charting. I love it. Ooh, XRP starting to drift down just a little bit. Now we're getting into the squeeze the balls area. I've already told you guys, I keep mine on a tier 1 exchange that has fire blocks so that it has a virtual record, so that it has an but it's not sitting in their own wallet. Go look up fire blocks. I will only use a tier 1 exchange that has fire blocks. Because you have hard evidence, but you have to validate. You have to use an ID to link it to you. Otherwise, it's not technically linked to you, and they can use any excuse not to give you your stuff back. But like I said, if the exchanges go down, we're screwed anyhow. If I can't use a tier 1 exchange that's government regulated, that has fire blocks, we're already done. We're already done. I trust these people that tell us to use a cold wallet and all this other shit no more than I trust them with my charts. And they can't even tell me how to read a chart. They tell you all this falusi, and they are the Fakazi. It's a Bugazi. They're creating an artificial scenario that doesn't even exist. It's not even possible. It's a Fugazi. Do you know what a Fugazi is? The Fugazi. Do you know what this is? Wrestlers often do it. Sports athletes, they create a situation that's not real, but it looks real. It's a Fugazi, the Fugazi. It's a big ass Fugazi in the XRP community. It's a big psyop. Everybody's telling you what can't happen so that you won't be happy when what can happen does happen. I've never seen so many people so pissed off turning 3,500 into 35,000 and not taking a red fucking cent. Not a red cent that some people take. Not a single penny. We've seen a 1,000% move and people didn't take a single damn penny. Let that be a life lesson. I don't care how high it goes. I don't. That's just not good trading. You need to at least take your money back. And now, think about this. You could buy right now. You could buy right now for all the arguments. Yes, let's say you sold at 350. You could buy back and keep 42. Well, you got to put money away for taxes. And depending on how you trade it. But anyhow, there's a lot of things to talk about here. And we can't be part of the Fugazi. We don't want to be part of the Fugazi. But however you want to say it, we don't want to be part of that artificial setup, the artificial scenario. So we're positive. It might not sound positive, but this is as positive as you can be. And I say that because if you have all the information, if you know all the gaslighting, if you understand the news, charts, the psychological warfare, you understand sound money, you understand the economics, you understand politics for what they are, you understand the central banks and what the militias and militaries and all this stuff, what it's for, you can't not win. You can't not win. It might not seem like it at times, but you can't not win. Knowledge is power. Complacency is the root of all evil. You have to be uncomfortable to grow. And like I said at the start of this, I'm too damn young to be complacent. So I have to be uncomfortable to grow. It's that true. Complacency is a killer. That's why every single day, well, I had to take today off from lifting weights, but every single day during the week, at least 5 days a week, I'm doing my weightlifting. Some people called me out and said, well, you never show your muscles. So I've been showing my muscles. That is hard work, guys. No steroids. 3.5 years. That's a lot of work. So it's there. I'm working on myself just as much as I'm working on my charts. So there's a lot of work that's been done. And I'm going to continue to do the work, but I want to do it together with all of you. With all of you. And this live's been going on for an hour and 42 minutes, and my mom's here playing with tea. So stop it, Tom. You're making me blush. That's what I'm trying to do, Elmer. I want to make everybody in this audience, the male and females, go, whew. Even the men will be like, I'm not gay, but damn. No, I'm just, let's not go down that road. But if you're interested in these classes, I want to read this to you guys real quick. Because we are together. We are XRP Future Millionaire. Most people just watch the charts. I teach you how to read. This is my own personal promise to all of you. Whether you're here for XRP or looking to dominate the other markets, you found the right home for strategy and growth. We do daily live analysis, always free. I go live every single day to provide free technical analysis and real-time charting. I don't just give you the what. I show you the how so you can stay ahead of the volatility and watch and subscribe. So if you're not subscribed, click there on my YouTube channel. If you want to do the live mastery classes starting in February, they're $49.99 a month. If you're ready to stop guessing, join my exclusive live class for total market mastery. I teach the strategies, indicators, and investor psychology needed to trade any market and any chart anywhere. Join the circle there in the membership only area. If you want to go on the wild side and go down the rabbit hole, some satire, some conspiracies of XRP, the what if theories, and the far-fetched ideas, follow my official Facebook page. Just went over 7,900 followers, almost to 8,000. Now we picked up 600 followers this week. On YouTube, I picked up 72. We explore the rabbit hole there, but we trade the facts here. And then this is a rough estimate of the syllabus so you guys can see. So there's phases. So the foundation of value. Before looking at a chart, the student must understand the nature of the game they are playing. In Module 1, we go about the evolution of money. What is money? Store of value versus medium exchange, fiat versus hard assets, the concept of inflation, and the cost of sitting still. The Module 2, the purpose of investing, wealth preservation. We're not going to go through all this, but I want you guys to hear what you're going to go through before you ever even look at a chart. And if it sounds like it's something for you, I would really like to continue to evolve the amount of people in this class. There's 15 right now. The purpose of, and you'll be helping keep me here longer on YouTube by virtue because I'm not going to take a job as an analyst. I got offered a job as an analyst, a financial advisor, a market analyst, but also an advisor. And I decided to bet on myself. So I want to do it this way. I've taught classes in other areas, so this is not foreign to me. You're just going to be foreign when you see how I act. But the purpose of investing, wealth preservation. Oh, and the other part of this is my son, he's autistic and special needs, and Julie can't work because she got into a bad accident with him. And so I'm basically working for all three of us for the next 25 years. But I want to get a bunch of stuff put away for T2. So there's a lot of things I'm doing behind the scenes because he's never, you know how it is with him. So the purpose of investing in module 2, wealth preservation versus wealth generation, the magic of compounding, and the lethality of losses defining your financial North Star. Module 3 is market ecosystem. Who are the players, retail institutions, market makers, central banks, how markets actually move, supply, demand, and liquidity. Then we can get into phase 2, the psychology of the trade, the who. Trading is 80% psychology. We address the mind before the mouse. Module 4 is human bias in markets, the fear of missing out, and revenge trading, the gambler's fallacy, and the loss aversion. Module 5 is developing the trader's mindset, thinking in probabilities, the casino versus the gambler, detaching from the dollar amount to focus on the process. Part retail never gets to disconnect from. Phase 3 is technical analysis, the beginning, the how, getting familiar with the canvas. So that's phase 3. We got to go through 5 modules and 2 phases to get into just talking about the technicals. And it goes all the way and beyond. And by the time we get down to some other areas, and this gets broken down into an even tighter syllabus, basically by what I want to do by the day. I can't wait if some of you stay through, and this is going to take 6-7 months, maybe a year to get here based on the speed of the class. I can't wait for some of you to be here when we go to the advanced price action, Fibonacci retracements and extensions, the Elliott wave theory or Wyckoff schematics, the market cycles, and then liquidity and institutional flow, identifying smart money, footprints, order blocks, fair value gaps, stop hunts, and liquidity. I can't wait to get into that advanced spot. But anyhow, that's for another day. Thank you for listening to my spew. I hope to see you guys in the classes. If I can get one person a day to sign up or one a week, I would be happy. Other than that, have a blessed day. Pay attention to everything we talked about, and hopefully we'll be back soon. I got to take a piss. I'm hangry because I haven't ate since 9 o'clock last night, roughly, as I fast 16 hours a day, and it is time to eat. Be blessed, everybody, and we